stopped it. Where's the puck? It came loose on the other side. It's over.
We should really start with the Edmonton-Winnipeg series.
Yeah. Actually, I want you to do me a favor as we get into that. Can you spell Oilers for me?
Oilers.
Good. Now, can you spell it without the Oiers?
I think that just leaves L.
Yeah, they took a fat L. Oh, my lordy lord. And honestly, part of me feels bad for Sabres fans, and then part of me is like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm very conflicted. I feel bad for Connor McDavid and probably nobody else.
Right. And there's a lot to unpack here. So
True.
This series just ended last night. So right now we are recording on Tuesday the 25th. The series just ended last night. Winnipeg swept the Oilers 4-0. And
Like we all expected.
Like we all expected, right? And there's a lot to unpack here. And I just kind of want to say my piece on this because I saw a lot of people rushing to the defense of the Oilers before the playoffs even started.
Yeah.
Most people, from what I saw, had Edmonton beating Winnipeg and pretty swiftly, too. I know Winnipeg had a tough end to the regular season, so that might have exacerbated it a little bit. But what I saw is a team that is not a true playoff team. I'm going to have some hot takes here, right? And this is the first one.
We love
Edmonton is not a true playoff team. They didn't even seem like they belonged in this series, in this year's playoffs. You get swept by a lower seed, weaker team,
In
statistically.
theory. Yeah.
And last year, you get ousted by the Blackhawks, which, like, we're Blackhawks fans. The Blackhawks had no business winning that series. There's no reason for it. And it wasn't really close.
No. The Blackhawks were probably the weakest team in the entire playoffs last year, including the play-in.
Yes.
And Edmonton lost in 4.
Yes.
They didn't even take it 5 games.
Correct. And when you look at the division that they played in this year, yes, the Canadian division is weaker than a lot of the other ones, maybe even all of them. That's been talked about to death, right? They finished as the second seed. It was really Toronto and everybody else, right? So they made the playoffs. Great.
But Edmonton was no slouch in the regular season.
No, I understand that. But last year, too, even when they were playing in the Pacific, who are the real players in that division? You've got Vegas, great team.
Yeah.
You've got Colorado, great.
No,
I'm
in
sorry.
the Central.
They're in the Central. All 3 California teams, they're trash.
Yes.
Vancouver, trash.
Calgary is all right.
Yeah, you never really know what you're going to get.
Yeah, they were good
Right.
last year.
Sure. Who else? Arizona?
Meh.
Not really that great. Like, Edmonton is making the playoffs, and I think this is maybe coming to light a little bit more, is that maybe Edmonton isn't really that great of a team. They are making the playoffs because A, their division that they play in is super weak, and B, you've got the best player possibly ever to play.
Certainly the
playing
best
on
player
your
in the
team.
world right now.
Certainly the best player in the world right now, and then possibly the second best player in the world right now.
He's up there.
Playing on the same team. Those guys can will a team into the playoffs. They
they did.
cannot win you playoff series.
No.
And that's evident now. And this kind of goes into my next point. In my opinion, the Oilers have 2 top 6 forwards on that team. And you know who I'm talking about.
I think you could make a case that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is a top 6 forward.
Sure. Nugent-Hopkins, yes. They're not going to re-sign him for this upcoming offseason.
I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but okay.
That's what a lot of other people are saying.
I'll let you make
is
your
that
point.
they're not going to re-sign him. So after Nugent Hopkins leaves, you have 2 top 6 forwards. Yamamoto, he will be.
He's gonna be good.
He looks awesome,
Yep.
but he's not there yet. Puljujarvi, you got a great season out of him, all things considered, because he was kind of like a reclamation project after the start of his career that he had. You had a great season out of him, but he's not that yet. Go and look at their statistics, the advanced analytics. They're not top 6 players yet.
No.
And then you're filling in with guys like Ennis and Chason. I remember watching, I got a chance to watch a lot of this series because by the time I got home from work, it was the only game that was left on because they start so late. And I saw at least a couple of times, man, where a guy like Jason would be set up for cross seam goal. I mean, like, should be a tap in, and he doesn't bury it. And it's no disrespect to Chason, but if you have a guy, a true top 6 guy up there, that's something that probably gets buried.
You know who's king of that is Zach Cassian. You
Yeah,
know how many
he's
chances
another
I saw
guy.
him get and he can't bury it?
He's another guy.
Because let's be honest, Zach Cassian and Alex Chason are good players, but they shouldn't be in your top 6.
Correct.
They're good players. I would love them on the Blackhawks for a lower salary. I think they're very valuable players, just not in the role that Edmonton has them in. They're not big finishers, and they don't have really any finishers that are not named Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl.
Correct.
Nugent Hopkins is good, but he's not going to carry you ever. Like, he is a second line center barely. Like, barely.
No, I think he's a second line center.
He's on the lower end of them, though.
Yeah, and I don't mean to split hairs with you, but I think that he is. I think he can maybe be kind of put in that same category as Kadri. He's a great third line center and a pretty good second line center.
Yeah, save for the playoff injuries or playoff suspension, though, I'd much rather have Nazem Kadri on my team. But I saw this tweet from Jonathan Willis, and it was the Oilers lineup, forward group, I should say, for their last game, Game 4 against the Jets, and their 5v5 points during the regular season. McDavid had 56 5v5 points.
It's great.
It's unreal. I mean, he had over 100 points. Draisaitl had 40. Nobody else had more than 19 in your forward group. It's not good enough.
Problem.
It's not good enough.
What was the drop off after 19? Who had 19? Does it tell you that?
It doesn't tell me. It just tells me the numbers.
So you went
have
19,
16, 14, 11, and then everybody else had 9 or lower. Their fourth line left wing, don't remember who it was, it might have been Jujhar Khaira, had 1 5v5 regular season point in the regular season.
It's not good enough, man.
It's not even close to being good enough. And I don't really want this to turn into an Edmonton bashing spree, but it's kind of hard for it not to, because you have the best player in the world, and it's not close. And then you have another top 5 player in the league, or close to it.
3.
Maybe.
There's an argument.
I mean, he won MVP last year, so he's up there. And you had Mike Smith, who played out of his mind in the regular season and was good enough in the playoffs to win you a series. He was good enough. He wasn't amazing. He made mistakes, but it sure as hell way better goaltending than they've gotten in the past. And you have Ken Holland coming out. When was this? Like, after the trade deadline or something like that?
Yeah.
And he said, well, something along the lines of, well, I don't think you can go all in every year. You sort of have to pick and choose. Ken, every year is all in when you have Connor McDavid. I'm sorry, but you put any other general manager in that role, and they understand that you want to capitalize on the years that you have Connor McDavid on your team. Because how many other general managers can say that they have that? None. Only you can. You were gifted that scenario by taking the job. And your job is to make this team a contender. And quite honestly, other general managers have a way more difficult task at hand than you do. Like, you're asked to win with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Surely you can find a way to create a good enough roster around them. I don't know how much time he has left in Edmonton, because another year without winning a playoff series next year, it's just not going to cut it.